I've got one going on right now where I'm talking, which we're probably going to be on a hold pattern because they've got one kid out of college. They've got two that are in college, and they do not want to make decisions based on whether or not they don't know if those other two kids are going to come into the business. They think they are, but they also think, heck, they could go to Chicago or they could go to Indy or they could go wherever and not have any interest in the business. So what we've tried to do is sort of band-aid the approach with a buy-sell agreement amongst the family members. So we have insurance there to provide the cash that if something happens, mom wants out, kids can get the business. We've got a management team set up, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. So, I mean, we've got some things set up to where they're just not ready to make a final decision. So we can band-aid the approach for the next 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, till we see which kids really want to run the business. Some kids may just want to work and take the benefits, and that's fine. And I have that situation a couple times, and I've got a couple that I review with people all the time and say, hey, how's Joey doing? Because Joey's the one that was just wanting to work and rake in the, his 20% profit every year. And we have things set up that way with people. Next question. Have you considered the impact of estate taxes on your business? Now, 5-10 years ago, it was a bigger difference. Depending on what happens this year, it might be a bigger difference with the presidential election. But right now, unless your business and you own 100% is valued over 20 million plus and some change, there's no real estate tax situation. If your total estate is valued above that, congratulations, you need to probably worry about taking care of that. But if it's not, you don't have any estate taxes, there's nothing really to worry about, and we're good to go. Are you and your spouse in agreement as the ultimate disposition of the business? And here's my next example. And one with the one I talked to you about earlier, the family up in northern Indiana, they obviously were not in agreement. He thought they were. She obviously knew they weren't, and we worked through that. But I've got one right now that I'm working with that I want to explain to you guys. And I've got 100% owner of a business that's valued at basically $5-6 million. And it's a service-oriented business, very, very hands-on. And so I'm meeting with the guy. His wife was late running for the meeting. She was coming from a meeting with their accountant. And she runs books and does some things like that. Takes care of all the key contracts, takes care of all the operational things, takes care of all that stuff. So we were just shooting the breeze. And this came up because he was worried about what happens if something happens to him. And they got me involved with him. So I asked him one quick question after we found out about each other's family and all that kind of good stuff. So I asked him, I said, so if something happens to you tomorrow, your concern is what happens to the business. He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm not really that worried about that, because he goes, I think everything will just go to my wife. That's how we have it set up. I said, okay. I said, so she handles the books. She's full-time. I mean, she helps route guys around, do different things. She goes, yeah. I said, have you ever asked her if she wants the business? Well, they've owned the business for 30 some odd years. 15, 20 minutes. It really shocked him that I asked that, because he was like almost offended that I said, do you know that she wants it? He was like, oh yeah, she'd want it. There's no problem with that. So I said, okay. So we keep moving on. She comes into the meeting about 20 minutes later. Oh, sorry, I'm so late. And we start talking. So we get done. I said, by the way, John and I were talking just a little bit ago. And I said, we had a question that we sort of left unanswered. And I said, I think he knows the answer, but I just want to verify it. And I said, and you guys can talk about it later if you need to. But I said, my question is I said, if he doesn't come home tomorrow, he gets run over by a proverbial truck tomorrow, do you want the business? She sat back in her chair and she started talking about things about, I've seen what this business has done to us for 30 plus years. It's taken a toll on us, health-wise, everything. It's stressful. She goes, I can't imagine not having him around. She goes, what are my other options? I said, well, what if we just got you $5, $6, $7 million of cash? She goes, done. He about fell out of his chair. And I was just throwing a number out there. We're not there yet. We're going to work through some things. But since then, we've had 2 more meetings, and he's come to the conclusion that he's okay with her saying, I'd sell it or I'd want out. Now, she told him she would not sell it unless it was right for the kids and everything else. She said, I'd probably work through it, but if you gave me a choice of taking a cash equivalent, and at 62 years old, I'm able to ride off into the sunset. She goes, I put a lot of time in here. She said, I'd just soon sell it, either let the kids have it, but I'm going to collect, they don't have to buy it from me if we can do it with insurance. So it's going to probably work out fine. And we don't know that yet, but I think that's key, that understanding that if you think your spouse would want the business, have that conversation. I don't know how many times I've had that conversation where the spouse said, no, I would take the cash. I would take a buyout. And I think after everyone gets over the shock and awe of that, I think everybody's okay with it, because it's a fairly normal occurrence. So I think having that on there, I think that's pretty key. Another main topic I want to go over is, do you have a management succession team? And I know that there's quite a difference in people that are attending today, but if you have people that you know that own businesses similar to yours, if you have, and again, I'm thinking family-owned businesses that are 100% owned by a family, think about this idea or this management succession team. So I do these all the time, do these types of meetings, and I call them a little management succession team exercise for companies. So the last one I just did was about 2 weeks ago up in Indianapolis, and I asked an owner who's been a client of mine for years. And I stole this idea, by the way, from someone up at Lafayette at their Purdue school for agriculture and different things. And he's a planner. And I just thought I just think it's the greatest thing in the world. And I've been doing them for probably 5, 6, 7 years. And it's just so I go in and I talk to a business owner about, if something happens to you, how does your business carry on? And, most business owners are very prideful in how they've set things up and how things are going to work. And more times than not, they're like, hey, everything will run fine. It's not going to affect the income to my family. My spouse will come in. She's going to do a little more work. She knows that. I got people that'll do all the different things that I do. It would not be a problem. I said, do you humor me and answer a few questions?